Welcome to my horror game tier list. Today, going to go through some horror games, giving each one its rightful ranking, starting with Subnautica. Now I think Subnautica is an absolute masterpiece. If I think it deserves S tier, if it was just a normal game tier list. But it's not an all-out horror game, more a sci-fi survival game, so it can't really go S tier. Next is going to be let's do Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm doing this as the whole franchise, and for me I'm putting it in S tier. The gameplay loops are incredibly engaging, offering just the right mix of tension, strategy, and jump scares to keep players on edge. The blend of resource management and survival mechanics makes every decision feel crucial, adding to the overall suspense. The atmosphere is another highlight, with each game in the series creating an eerie and claustrophobic environment that's unforgettable. The story is another reason the franchise deserves its S-tier placement. While it can be overly complex at times, it's undeniably fascinating. The lore is layered with mystery. What truly elevates Five Nights at Freddy's is its cultural impact. It redefined indie horror, inspiring countless games and fan creations while cementing its place in pop culture. For its innovative gameplay, chilling atmosphere, and captivating lore, the franchise has more than earned its spot in S tier. Let's do a bad one. Scary Teacher 3D. Scary Teacher 3D is, unfortunately, one of the worst horror games I've played, and it fails to deliver on almost every front. While it's marketed as a spooky yet fun stealth game, it barely manages to execute either aspect effectively. The gameplay is repetitive and shallow, relying on simple fetch quest mechanics and overly basic objectives that quickly become monotonous. There's no real sense of challenge or tension because the AI for the titular Scary Teacher is laughably bad. She'll often get stuck or behave erratically, making it hard to take the game seriously as a horror experience. The premise of pulling pranks on a mean teacher is just stupid. Overall, Scary Teacher 3D fails to deliver as either a horror game or an entertaining stealth experience. It's a frustrating, poorly designed, and ultimately forgettable game that feels like a chore to play. D tier. Among the Sleep. You play as a 2-year-old child navigating a surreal and unsettling world. The narrative is a blend of childlike wonder and adult darkness, as the toddler protagonist searches for their missing mother with the help of a sentient teddy bear. The story subtly explores themes of loss, fear, and trauma, providing depth beyond its eerie exterior. The environments, ranging from dreamlike landscapes to distorted versions of familiar spaces, are visually striking and effectively evoke a sense of dread and helplessness. A tier. Poppy Playtime. I have yet to play Chapter 3, but the first 2 chapters are pretty good. The first chapter has some fun puzzles and a good chase scene, and the second chapter improves on the first, adding more gameplay and more story. The game is a Bendy and the Ink Machine ripoff and not scary, but a fun game. B tier. Happy's Humble Burger Farm. It had a lot of potential with its unique blend of fast food management and horror, but the execution left me frustrated and disappointed. First off, the gameplay loop quickly becomes repetitive. While juggling customer orders and dealing with spooky happenings sounds fun on paper, the tasks feel monotonous, and the horror elements often feel forced rather than genuinely scary. There's very little variation in what you do, and the game relies heavily on cheap jump scares rather than building an unsettling atmosphere. Overall, just boring. D tier. Eyes the Horror Game. This game is surprisingly good. It's simple but fun, could be wrong, but I think the monster is based off an actual legend. The gameplay is basic, but still fun. Overall, B tier. Late Night Shopping. This is a mobile game you've probably never heard of, but it's fine. It has a good start, but just fine from when you get kidnapped. Not much to say. It's not a unique game or really good or bad. C tier. Granny. Granny is arguably one of the most iconic mobile horror games, and it has earned its place as a standout title in the genre. While it's not perfect, it offers a genuinely suspenseful experience that keeps players hooked. The premise is simple but effective. One of the game's biggest strengths is its level design. The house is compact but filled with hidden secrets, making exploration feel rewarding. The puzzles, while not overly complex, strike a nice balance of challenge and accessibility, making the gameplay loop engaging for both casual players and those who enjoy experimenting with different strategies. That said, the game isn't without its flaws. The story is minimal, leaving little context or depth beyond the basic escape or die premise. While this works for some players, it may leave others wanting more. The game can also be a bit buggy at times, with occasional glitches that can break immersion or make certain mechanics frustrating. Despite these drawbacks, Granny is an impressive mobile horror game that delivers a tense and thrilling experience. Its popularity is well deserved, and while it's not a perfect game, it's one that's easy to recommend to fans of the genre. For its fun puzzles, creepy atmosphere, and replayability, it earns a solid spot in B tier. Stories Untold. I wanted to like this game, but it's not really fun to me. It's experimental, so it's not going to be for everyone though. I liked the house abandoned part though. C tier. The Baby in Yellow. I thought this game was going to be really bad, but it's quite good. At its core, The Baby in Yellow is a first-person puzzle game. You play as a babysitter tasked with caring for a mysterious infant over a series of increasingly bizarre nights. The gameplay involves mundane activities like feeding, changing diapers, and putting the baby to bed. But things quickly spiral out of control as paranormal occurrences begin to manifest. I thought having a baby as the villain was kind of silly. Pet Sematary is probably the only good example of that. B tier. Choo Choo Charles is an absolute blast to play and offers a refreshingly unique take on the horror genre. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's part of its charm. The premise of being hunted by a horrifying spider train hybrid might sound absurd on paper, but it works brilliantly in practice, creating a mix of tension and dark humor that keeps you engaged from start to finish. One of the game's standout features is its open-world design. Driving your train around the eerie, desolate map feels incredibly satisfying, and the freedom to explore at your own pace adds to the fun. The tasks and missions scattered throughout the world strike a nice balance between variety and challenge, ensuring there's always something interesting to do. Upgrading your train and preparing for encounters with Charles adds a layer of strategy and progression that feels rewarding. Overall, Choo Choo Charles is an inventive, enjoyable game that doesn't just stand out for its quirky premise, but also for its genuinely fun and well-executed mechanics. It's a must-play for anyone looking for something unique in the horror genre, and it fully deserves its spot in a tier. The Boiled One. Now, I think the short film, The Boiled One Phenomenon, is the scariest horror movie ever, so I didn't expect a mobile game about it to be good, but it actually is pretty fun. It does have a lot of unnecessary jump scares, but it's pretty solid. B tier. The OG Resident Evil. Now the rest of the franchise is probably really good. I've only played the original, and it's really outdated. Overall, I just couldn't get over the fact of the outdated mechanics and graphics. C tier. Little Nightmares. It has some fun moments, but overall, just was kind of disappointed with it. C tier. Dead by Daylight. This game is peak S tier. Love this game. It's so fun. The asymmetrical 4v1 format is a stroke of genius. Playing as a survivor is a heart-pounding experience, where teamwork and strategy are crucial to escape the menacing killer. Conversely, taking on the role of the killer offers a thrilling power trip as you hunt down survivors. The dynamic between these roles keeps gameplay fresh and engaging. S tier. Evil Nun. It's just a Granny ripoff. It's terrible. It offers nothing better than Granny, and just boring with a bad story. D tier. Call of Cthulhu. It's a great interactive detective game with an engaging story and fun gameplay. I didn't finish it because I got stuck on the part with the painting. B tier. Baldie's Basics might have a unique concept, but it fails to deliver a cohesive or enjoyable experience. The game markets itself as a mix of horror and education, but it doesn't commit fully to either. Instead, it feels like an unpolished, frustrating mess. The graphics are deliberately bad, which can work as a stylistic choice, but here, it just comes off as lazy. The gameplay is repetitive, and the learning aspect solving math problems quickly becomes tedious, especially when impossible to solve questions are introduced. This design feels more unfair than scary. I understand that the game is meant to be satirical, but it lacks depth or creativity to make it worthwhile. It does build tension well through. Baldie's Basics just doesn't live up to the hype. C tier. Slender the Arrival. I think the atmosphere is really great and Slender Man is an ominous presence, but the game is pretty boring after a little while. C tier. Amanda the Adventurer. The game begins innocently enough. Players find themselves watching old, seemingly harmless VHS tapes of a children's educational show, featuring Amanda, an enthusiastic young girl, and her sheep companion, Wooly. The episodes present classic children's show themes, like learning new words, solving puzzles, and exploring the world. Boo! Something is off. The cheery veneer of the show begins to crack, revealing Amanda's unsettling demeanor and increasingly sinister undertones. What makes Amanda the Adventurer stand out is its immersive storytelling. As you progress through the tapes, you're drawn into a deeper mystery that involves not only the titular Amanda and Wooly, but also the tapes themselves. There's a sinister force behind the cheerful FOD, and uncovering it is both thrilling and chilling. The gameplay involves solving puzzles and making choices, which often have unsettling consequences. The tapes demand player interaction, and Amanda's reactions to your decisions add a layer of tension. Her cheerful voice and demeanor become increasingly threatening, creating a sense of dread that builds throughout the experience. Overall, great game, a tier. Bendy and the Ink Machine is a masterpiece in the horror genre, seamlessly blending its unique art style, intriguing story, and engaging gameplay into an unforgettable experience. Bendy and the Ink Machine is its iconic art style. The 1930s-inspired cartoon aesthetic is beautifully crafted, creating a nostalgic yet unnerving atmosphere. The contrast between the cheerful, vintage designs and the dark, decayed surroundings adds an extra layer of unease, making every moment visually striking. The inky textures and eerie lighting perfectly complement the game's tone, immersing players in a world that feels alive and haunted. The story is another major highlight. What starts as a simple trip down memory lane at an old animation studio quickly spirals into a nightmarish mystery filled with intrigue, betrayal, and horror. The narrative is expertly paced, with just enough twists and turns to keep you on edge. The lore surrounding Joey Drew Studios, the creation of Bendy, and the sinister Ink Machine is rich and compelling, encouraging players to dig deeper into the game's secrets. Gameplay-wise, Bendy and the Ink Machine strikes a great balance between exploration, puzzle solving, and survival. The variety in objectives keeps things fresh, while the gradual introduction of new mechanics ensures the experience remains engaging from start to finish. The encounters with inky monsters and the looming threat of Bendy himself create moments of genuine terror, amplified by the game's haunting sound design and unsettling atmosphere. For me, Bendy and the Ink Machine is not just a stellar horror game, it's a shining example of creativity and innovation in game design. It's a must-play for any horror fan, and it unquestionably deserves its spot in S tier. And that's my horror game tier list. What do you think? Are there any games you think I ranked too high or too low? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.